There you go, guys. I'm just going to go in a completely white background location. Did not mean to sound racist in any way, shape or form there. The lighting's not very good, but still it's very late at night. Anyway, I thought I'd do another quick video. I've just done an England-Russia reaction video, but I thought I'd do another one in regards to Premier League managers that have came in. The most recent one, obviously, being Ronald Koeman. Reportedly, Everton and Southampton have agreed a £5 million compensation fee. Jesus Christ, man, it just seems like a manager transfer window, doesn't it? But I wanted to do a quick reaction to this because it kind of annoys me in a lot of ways that there's always got to be a gap between the so-called big clubs and then other clubs that, have come in and done really well for themselves. You look like clubs like Southampton, and I think this is their fifth season coming up in the Premier League, where they've finished, I think, is it 14th, then 8th, then 7th, then 6th, who've done brilliantly well for themselves. Moving a little bit, just give me the other arm a bit of a rest. But, I think that in a lot of aspects, Koeman's done brilliantly for them, considering that they've had to get rid of a lot of their best players. If you look at, when Callum Chambers left in 2014, you could say, no problem, we have Nathaniel Klein. When Luke Shaw leaves, we get Ryan Bertrand, But even then, you look at other players that have come in and done really well for them. And I think to an extent that's probably why Everton want Koeman. And by the way, Everton fans, if you're watching this, you can thank us for that because we beat you. You helped us secure our survival, and we helped you get rid of Martins. Oh god! But you know what I mean. I think that if Koeman does go to Everton, I think it will be a good move for him. But I do think, in some respects, that it will. Are Everton a bigger club than Southampton? Historically and in general terms, I'd say yes. But although I actually do like Southampton as a club, but Southampton's done better in the last 2 seasons than Everton have done by a country distance. You can't really deny that. I don't know. I think Koeman would be a good fit for them if he went, because he has the philosophy that they like, but he's not just all about attacking football. Southampton were generally quite good defensively under Koeman, and I think maybe in some ways Southampton, although I can understand their fans being very annoyed at the fact that Koeman said he was going to, see out his contract and then bugger off to Everton, basically. You're going to get £5 million for him now, as opposed to in a year's time when you're probably going to get nothing for him, because I wouldn't have expected him to sign a new deal. He's probably trying to keep his options open in case something does happen in a futuristic sense. But, that's my reaction to it. I think from Koeman's point of view, I think he should stay at Southampton personally, but, there was no way Martinez was going to stay, because Everton have been on a rapid decline in the last couple of seasons, and there was no way he was just going to. There was no way he was going to get the time or the patience. You look at that team; it really did underachieve a lot. It shouldn't be mid-table; it should be top 8 or qualifying for Europe. But I look at the other ones. Now, I'm not including Leicester in this because I still don't classify them as a big team, even though Ranieri's done a brilliant job there. But we'll see what happens in the coming year with Leicester. I'll quickly mention a couple of transfers regarding Leicester, though. The whole Jamie Vardy's at Arsenal thing. To me, I think that would be a big mistake for Vardy, because I do think he could create a legacy for himself at Leicester. And at least, if he has to leave, at least stay one more season while they're in the Champions League. Because what's Leicester got that Arsenal hasn't? What's Arsenal got that Leicester hasn't next season? As far as I know, nothing. Apart from big club status. But even if... Now, with or without Vardy, Leicester apparently a 20 million bid for Troy Deeney from Watford. Jesus Christ. Had a good season, don't get us wrong, but he's nowhere near worth that much. So, and I would imagine, and even though Leicester aren't in the calibre of Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, etc., even though they're not in the calibre of those clubs generally, you'd have expected, since they've just won the Premier League, to go for be a bit more ambitious in terms of the players that they try to sign. But anyway, we'll see what happens with Leicester, like I said, in the coming year. But I'll just talk briefly about Jose Mourinho going to Man United, etc. Now, for me, everyone knows I can't stand Manchester United. I hate them to bits. But I will admit that's a very good appointment for them, because although it might not be the best long-term appointment, I mean, everyone said it by now, but and everyone knows it's not the best long-term appointment. But in terms of the next few years, it's the type of manager they need if they want to get success and trophies. Next season, I still don't think Mourinho. Even with Mourinho, I don't think Man United will win the league, but the difference is next season I think they'll challenge for it. Whereas beforehand, if they'd stuck with Van Gaal, I don't think they would have been anywhere near the Premier League title. But I will admit that it's very interesting, because Jose Mourinho going to Man United, there's a couple of games I'm very interested to see next season. When Man United go back to Chelsea, I'd be very curious to see what reception Mourinho gets. I don't think Chelsea and Man United are usually rivals for the title. But then you would look at, you know, the Manchester derby. Now that's going to be very interesting. You look at Jose Mourinho versus Pep Guardiola. That's going to be interesting. You've got Conte, Pochettino, Wenger, Klopp. And there's one other person I'm trying to remember. Hang on. Wenger, Pochettino, Conte, Klopp, and then Mourinho, and then Guardiola. Absolutely brilliant for the Premier League. That's going to be, and what I want as a neutral is a very open title race. I want to see 5 or 6 teams competing for the Premier League title. I don't want to see one team just run away with it like we've had in the last few seasons, because it's not very interesting as a neutral. And the last thing I will admit, even though as a Sunderland fan I was very annoyed at this, Rafa Benitez staying at Newcastle, massive, massive coup for them, because, you know, this gives them a really good chance to come straight back up. And I have to admit, even though Benitez will never have managed in that division before, they should come straight back up quite comfortably, because with the quality of players they've got compared to the rest of that division, it'll be an absolute failure of a season for them if they do not come back up to the Premier League at the first attempt. But anyway, I obviously hope they don't. I hope they stay in the Championship for a while we get better in the Premier League and we avoid them in the Cups, but I've been through all that before. If I had to pick now, 3 teams who I think will come up are Newcastle, Norwich and Derby. Although I will admit, I think that Aston Villa are the team I'd want to come up most. I think getting Roberto Di Matteo, irrespective of that, you could argue he was lucky to win the Champions League or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I think that's as best a managerial appointment they could have got, given their current situation. So, you know, that's going to be very interesting for the Championship, mind you, though. 2 Champions League winners, Rafa Benitez and Roberto Di Matteo. God. But if Newcastle do come back up, I'm trying not to be obsessed here, I do apologise if I am, but even if Rafa Benitez does get Newcastle back up, think the damage they could do to the Premier League in the next few years if they get it right. And I think it's about time both North East teams really put a stamp on the mark on the Premier League. I mean, Newcastle first of all got to get back in it, but, you know, the last thing I'll end this video on is with Sunderland. Obviously, the only thing that's really happened is that we've released a few players. We're putting a bid for Diafra Sakho. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But I mean, as far as the released players goes, you got Steve Harper, who personally I would have kept for development-wise for Pickford and get a third-choice keeper in, even though he was never going to play. I wouldn't be against that happening personally, but he probably won't. Wes Brown, I would have kept him for his personality in the dressing room, but I wish him good luck. Danny Graham, now this is an interesting one because he was a Geordie originally when he first came in, he could easily have not put in any effort. But the fact is, he didn't let that affect him towards the end, and he grafted his socks off, and I was very impressed with him for that. I wish him the best of luck because he deserves a successful end to his career. Stephen Fletcher, with all due respect, get lost. He scored the odd goal against Newcastle and scored like 5 goals a season, which apparently to him is really good form. But I'm glad we've got rid of Fletcher because to me, I've not rated him. His first season was good, but since then, 13, 14, 14, 15 and last season, didn't do enough. I mean, in those 3 seasons, or 2.5 seasons alone, he scored something like 10, 11 goals, or whatever it was. Actually, on a 3 and 1, 5, then 12 goals in 2.5 years isn't good enough. And I hope we get someone who we can ease the burden on Defoe. And the last thing I'll say is Patrick Van Aanholt and Defoe signing new deals. Patrick Van Aanholt, I think, deserved it based on the second half of last season. For me, he was the surprise package because he started poorly, and I didn't expect him to be as bad as that. And I stuck by him during that period, saying he wasn't as bad as that. He's improved a lot. Still needs to work on his defence, but generally he's getting better. And I was surprised that Defoe signed a new year deal. So he's now got another 3 years on his contract, given at his age. But I'm very happy that we're showing the ambition to try and keep Defoe. And hopefully we'll get another goal score. But anyway, guys, I love yous and leave yous there. That was just a general roundup video. It's nothing really special. It's pretty much off. It's off topic now because it happened a while back. But the KOEMAN Everton thing's going to be interesting. But anyway, a few days' time until the fixtures come out. So, well, anyway, it's not long before the fixtures come out. Please do not give us the newly promoted Burnley, Hull and Middlesbrough in the first couple of months. God. Anyway, guys, I love yous and leave yous there. Pretty wet round here, but still. See yous all later. Ta-ta.